It has been 13 years since Shadow of the Colossus launched to the masses, and not only it received overwhelming praise, it also changed the perception of the video game industry, as well as opened up new opportunities in terms of game design. Because of its success, Shadow of the Colossus has become a nostalgic classic and has been re-released for the PS3 and this year for the PlayStation 4. However, unlike its 7th gen counterpart where it is a refinement, the 2018 release is built from the ground up by Bluepoint Games, who also contributed with the PS3 remaster as part of the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus collection. For a company that's got 10 games under their name with only half of them being ports, remaking a classic for a modern platform shouldn't be taken for granted as it could have been disastrous. Fortunately, this remake is just as good, if not better than its 2005 counterpart. In Shadow of the Colossus, players take control of Wanda, a young man who travels to a forgotten land in order to resurrect Mono. Wanda seeks out Dormin, an entity who could bring people back from the dead. In order to do so, Wanda is tasked to find and perish all 16 Colossi, but he's warned it's all at a grave price. Despite Dormin's admonition, the protagonist, along with his steed Agro, head out to eliminate these massive beasts. Like the original, the first thing you'll heed is how there's little info on screen, and that's because Shadow of the Colossus goes by the philosophy of showing and not telling. You could say the tutorials are a contradiction, but they're essential of learning the controls for tackling all 16 Colossi. Moreover, there's a new control setting in the PS4 release, and they function admirably, but players can resort to the original controls if they so desire. While bringing down each foe is a matter of climbing onto them and impaling into their weak points, getting into that situation depends on what you're facing. For example, the first boss is straightforward in what players need to do, but in other circumstances, Wanda may need to manipulate them for accessing climbable routes, shoot specific targets while steering blind on horseback, or lure them into unstable structures so their armour is compromised. Combine that each foe is different from one another, some having more than one weak point, and the fact they'll do everything in their power to shake you off, Shadow of the Colossus doesn't have a dull moment, not to mention the music amplifies the fights even further. Between engagements, players will traverse the Forbidden Lands on Agro, and not only these scenarios are breathtaking in terms of scope, the graphics too are stunning. Indeed, the PS4 Pro does benefit with 60 FPS, but the base console is no slouch either, as both have huge draw distances, they don't suffer from frame rate dips, something that plagued the original, and textures look crisp even up close. Though you can explore at your own pace, it's near impossible to get lost as Wanda's sword will locate the next target, assuming he's standing in sunlight. Riding on Agro is just as fun, and this is helped by the camera being offset to one side rather than being placed dead centre. Not only it showcases the beautiful landscape, it also gives a sense of speed as you gallop around, and in some cases the camera will pull out when necessary. Additionally, the PS4 version does come with a photo editor, so for those who like taking epic images, you'll be pleased with this feature. The story isn't held back via expository dialogue or by excessive cutscenes, and speaking of cutscenes, they too are superbly produced. They may be kept to a minimum, but Bluepoint Games made sure they were faithful to the original, but it could be said for everything else. A single playthrough will last about 4 hours, but it does make up for this with New Game Plus, as your improved health and stamina carry over, and Time Trial mode is unlocked whereby defeating Colossi within a time limit awards you with gear that could alter how you play the game. Shadow of the Colossus is a must-own for any PS4 gamer. In a day and age where remakes and remasters are a common sight, whether as an excuse for not pursuing new ideas or simply taking advantage of nostalgia, Shadow of the Colossus might seem like it's going with the motions. However, Bluepoint Games have produced a remake that is engaging without compromising the original's identity. For Bluepoint Games, Shadow of the Colossus is quite simply a colossal success.